So did you guys read the book? I see
yeah.
you have it.
I got my notes.
Mostly skimmed it and kind of stopped at the Mars and Venus part.
Yeah, I didn't go there either. So I gotta tell you, I was impressed with this. There were things in here I never even gave it a thought about. I mean, there are some things it will never change my mind about, but what I thought was interesting is this guy is actually an astrologer. And I never put the signs like Pisces or Leo together with the Mercury retrograde. That I thought was really interesting, the way it affects people.
Right.
But what he's missing, in my opinion, is this. I'm Pisces, okay? I wouldn't be clearing houses and doing what I do if I was just Pisces. That's my birth sign. My rising is Leo.
Exactly.
And there you go. If you don't know both of them, you're not going to get a true understanding of this, because I had to look at what it said for Pisces, and then I had to look at what it said for Leo, because that's the way it affects that. Now, I don't know how many people have a natal chart, know what their rising is. Yeah, I do.
I have one, but
I would imagine that you don't even have to buy an ephemeris anymore. I'm going to guess that if you have a computer, you can probably say, I was born at this time, in this city, in this year, what's my rising? I bet you can get the answer in 17 seconds.
And if not, there's I don't remember the name of it. It's astrologysomething.com. And it says, you just go into searches for natal charts and go on that site and put in your date, time, location, and it calculates it and spits it right out for you.
So, and everybody could figure that out. It would be easy enough for people to find out what their rising is.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing themselves a disservice if they don't know both. They're only getting it half right.
Right.
I really, but that's what really floored me on this, is that I never even gave that a thought. I never even thought it, but I'm not an astrologer.
Right.
So you don't know. What did you think about it?
I liked it. Again, like you said, I really had never thought of like the health in terms of under the Mercury retrograde. But again, when thinking back, it's like, well, yeah, the last one was then, and then, oh yeah, that's when I went to the doctor and they found that. Oh, okay. And then,
And that's the other thing you can do on a computer. You can find out what year the Mercury retrogrades were.
Right.
And you usually
you
know.
can get a whole list of
Now, there's only two of you and it's fine. So and I wouldn't say this in front of, is there anybody on there yet?
Yeah.
Like,
We've got Karen, Setsuko, Brooke, and Sapphire.
Oh, geez. Okay. Hey, everybody. But like when I was diagnosed with something 20 years ago, when you're diagnosed with something, you can't worry about if it's an emergency is an emergency.
Right.
And so I went in, I had the surgery, had everything I was supposed to do. And they said, you're fine, 47 radiation treatments, you're fine, you're okay. The next Mercury retrograde, I had to finally go see the oncologist after I was done with
All the other stuff.
right. And a lady doctor, she's examining me. She says, give me your hand. And there's the lump right still back. 2 days later, I'm in the hospital having them take it off.
Oh my goodness.
So it got fixed in the second Mercury retrograde. Okay, so that does work. Wish it didn't help the first time, but what are you going to do? You don't know these things. And like I said, I think with health, if it's something that you can, you're planning for and you can pick a date, you're good.
Right.
But if it's an emergency and you have to have it done, you don't have any say in the matter. And so sometimes it has to be fixed on the second one. But still, with houses and cars, I'm a firm believer you do not sign final papers for houses. And for people that they've gone the St. Joseph route, putting them in the ground and trying to sell the house and everything, and it still doesn't help. And I tell people, no, your house is not cursed. Your house doesn't have any ghosts in it. You know, try this, this, and this. But go and find out if you signed your paperwork in a Mercury retrograde. The only way you're going to sell that house,
It's in a Mercury retrograde.
and it's only for 3 weeks. How do you do that?
Well, in today's market, it's not so hard.
Not today, right? But it's hard to do to sell your
Yeah.
house and have it all signed and done. It takes a lot longer than that.
Mhm.
So, but that's about the only way you're really going to sell a house on a Mercury retrograde is if you signed it on a Mercury retrograde. What about you, Sue?
Well, I was never really into astrology, and I never even heard of Mercury retrograde until
My big mouth, right?
until you. So I found it really interesting, but I also felt like this just felt like a nice, good self-help book, because everything is in here to me is just kind of common sense advice, like to survive a Mercury retrograde, let go of perfection. Well, sometimes we all have to let go of perfection.
That's
It can't
right.
all be perfect. And I found almost everything in this book similar thoughts.
Yeah, compared to the last book, this book is so informative.
Oh, yeah,
But
definitely.
it's, you know, like
Much better writer.
positive and negative ways to experience Mercury retrograde. Well, use positive expression, pay attention to detail, have a positive outlook. That's true with life in general, I think, whether it's Mercury.
Right, and if you want to blame it on Mercury retrograde, that's fine. Or if it's helping you, that's okay
Right,
too.
right.
Which
So-
floored me too is the synchronicity. I
Mhm.
never even thought about a Mercury retrograde being in sync with something like that. And if you think, yeah, I could see where that would, but I never even gave that a thought before. So, and I glanced at the other two. I'm crazy enough with Mercury retrograde. I'm not going to worry about Venus and Mars. I'm not going to even.
Well, they're far enough away. They're what, every 2 years and every 18 months?
And the one is 6 months and 6 weeks. The other one is 2 months long. 3
Right.
weeks is bad enough. That's all I can take is 3 weeks. I'm not going to worry about the other ones. Any questions from our group?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything about it you didn't like?
Well, what I was just saying, I liked and didn't like, because I just feel like in general, it's good advice.
Oh, and he was
How
taking
much is
advantage
it
of it.
tied to a Mercury
Oh, I see what
retrograde?
you're
Like
saying.
in your life, this is all good advice,
Right.
you know, like have a positive outlook. Well, it's kind of common sense, good advice. Not only good to have a positive outlook during a Mercury retrograde,
But all the time.
all the time. That's what I felt about this
Okay.
book. It's like common sense, good advice for all of the time.
Yeah.
The one thing I did notice, you know, because you're right, it's good as advice all the time, but he didn't list like the same thing under all three of them.
Which I thought was good.
Because, you know, it's something different for each.
Well, each planet represents something different, and so it couldn't be the same. But yet, he still went through,
And
because I did have to see what Pisces and Leo were in the other two anyway.
did you?
Of course.
Of course,
So,
just
that's
curiosity.
right. And so, you know, so at least he went through each one and you could, you know, see the
Mhm.
difference that way. I think what he was doing was writing to our common sense.
Yeah,
Like you say, that should be good for everything, whether you're in Mercury retrograde or
Right.
not.
Right,
But take advantage of it if you're in a retrograde.
right.
And I think that's where he was trying to
Yeah.
get your opinion on it, you know, get you to go in that direction.
yeah, because some people just get into a rut
Right.
of, oh, it's Mercury retrograde, there's
Right.
nothing I can do. Well, yeah, you can do these things.
That's right. Or avoid these. And that's one thing. He still does say avoid houses and cars and
and-
health. He still
Mhm.
agrees with all of that. So that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
And high ticket items.
Right. Oh, well, yeah, houses and cars are right up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, anymore. But the same thing with all the, what he didn't touch on, which I was surprised, he didn't go into anything with the electronics. You know, he did with travel,
Yeah, he did with travel,
but he
Okay.
really didn't do anything. And, glitches with that stupid light last night on Zoom, not staying on. We're in a Mercury retrograde. That doesn't surprise me. Planes being canceled, but of course now they're always canceled. So you
Right, I was
can't
gonna
just
say that.
blame it on that.
right.
Lost luggage, you can't blame it on that now because they do that all the time anyway. So there's things that you can say are more prone to happen during a retrograde, but that doesn't mean that it's the only reason it happened. So,
It's like what my husband would say about having a ghost in your house, things going and I'd be like, oh, we must have another spirit in the house. And he'd be like, you can't blame everything.
and that's true.
It's so
It's not
true.
always
Yeah.
a ghost. It's
It's kind of
life.
a joke between us now
Yeah.
because, but
I said this how many times? I wish everybody had a curse on them. I wish everybody had a ghost in their house so I could take off the curse and get rid of the ghost and your life would be wonderful. But that's not the
That's
Right.
right.
That's just not the way it works, unfortunately. And I'm not wishing anybody on any of that stuff, believe me, but it's just not always a ghost. And as soon as things go bad, they automatically go right there. If they've had a ghost once or something wrong, oh my God, the ghost is back. It has to be that. They never think it's anything else. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes it is something new, but not all the time.
Right.
Not all the time. So,
I found it interesting too. He took a little bit of time explaining exactly what the Mercury retrograde is. It is not that it's moving backwards.
Right, and
It's
the
that the other way
stationary
here's
is
like it
going
is. Right.
faster.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that I knew. And but I never, he used the example with the clock going backwards. How it would throw you off if you're in a room and you see the time going backwards. Or when you're on a road where a train is going with you, it looks like you're going backwards because the train is going faster. That's the
Yes,
same
see
thing
that.
that the planets do.
Mhm.
Now, I thought, and he said no, and I don't know, I guess I would go with his opinion, but I was under the impression that the moon could go retrograde too. And I don't know why, I think I heard that somewhere, and I wondered how. But
Pretty
then
sure the
it
moon
goes
is
around the
flat.
sun too.
I'm
So why
pretty,
can't the planets that go around the sun? Why couldn't the moon go retrograde?
pretty sure because it's in tidal lock.
Because it's what?
In a tidal lock.
Well, that's your science side of you.
Yes.
Tell me what that is.
This means that the Earth completes one sidereal rotation before the moon is able to complete one orbit. As a result, it looks like the moon is traveling. Oh, so I guess it can. I didn't think it could. So,
Could, but he
traveling in
never
the
says
opposite
anything about the
direction.
moon. And I can't even imagine what the moon would affect unless it affects water. That would be the only thing a retrograde of a moon, I think, would affect, would be tidal waves and.
Yeah, but the body has got how
Well,
much
that's
water
true,
in
all
it.
the babies that are born on a full moon.
But I would almost think because it's so close to the earth and it goes, like within 1 month, that even if it went retrograde, it would just be like a day and it wouldn't be enough to really affect anything.
Yeah, maybe that's it, it's not long enough. That could be it.
Well, it could also be the point of reference. Because if you're looking at it from the sun, it will never be retrograde.
True.
So it's
Yeah,
where
what
you
part
are.
of the world you're on when it
Uh-huh.
goes retrograde, because it would be different because it's such a short period, yeah. Maybe that's why they don't bother, because it's not worth it. Okay. But I thought it could go retrograde though.
So Karen said, noticed in the book there are positives and negatives to retrograde, like how when they brought up mental tune-ups, spiritual energy when meditating feels stronger. And Brooke is asking if it's more difficult to deal with earthbounds during a retrograde.
No, except that a lot of times the messages get lost or time gets lost or there's an accident, you can't get to somebody. That would be the only thing, but it doesn't involve any of the earthbound spirits. I've never noticed a difference doing it during a retrograde or not, so I've never paid attention to that, so I don't think so.
And then there was a question of, have you ever had to redo a house that you did previously during a retrograde?
No, never. No. I guess some things I just blow off. I don't know.
I blow it all off.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say, well, how often do you actually look, well, this went wrong, let me see, is it a Mercury retrograde?
I can't, yeah,
Yeah.
I can't do, no, I can't do that. So, I don't know. It's like the lady that was absolutely convinced that she saw her husband and that he looked younger and everything. I would never have known that man's old address and what his social security number was if he wasn't earthbound. So I don't know what that lady saw. And it is in a Mercury retrograde. So, maybe that's what she saw. I think what she saw was him being earthbound and thought she was dreaming.
Could be.
I think that's what people think more.
Yeah, just more confirmation of how the moon doesn't do retrograde.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Or at least he didn't say so. So,
Right.
questions about this? I mean, this, a lot of these books I don't keep. I repurpose them to other people. This one I'm going to keep because I think I could be, I would refer back to this on occasion if I had to, I think. So I think this is good enough to, figure it out anyway. I saw people having roofs done this week. And see, I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think I would do that either. That's expensive now, and I don't think I would do that either. I'm just leery enough over the years to know that things could really happen. And you wonder, with the cars especially, is that why some of them are lemons?
I wonder. Sure.
And we had a car that we got rid of because it was a lemon. It's very, very, very hard to prove, let me tell you. Very hard to prove. And the one thing I didn't do, and I didn't think about it until just now, is that I wonder if we bought that on a Mercury retrograde. No.
Maybe.
You checked to make sure.
The car guy's
I did,
checking.
but you would. Okay. Yeah. But maybe some of the parts were made on a Mercury retrograde.
Oh, now you're
Or
just
I'm going to
digging.
get my 2 cents in.
Or it could have been assembled.
Digging.
Assembled in a Mercury. Yeah.
Right.
You
Or-
don't know.
More
That
than-
could do it too.
Or it's more that they were made in child labor laws. And
That's right. That's right. I don't think clothes, that goes with clothes. So,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I wondered too how things were going to go with the Mercury retrograde with all this business over in England with the Queen dying.
Yeah.
But it seemed that it went okay. I mean, I think they seemed to keep things pretty much under control. Wasn't that double rainbow beautiful?
Yes.
He didn't she didn't stick around. She said, I'm so done, I'm leaving. She
Do you
wanted to go
blame
see
her?
her honey. No, I don't blame her one little bit. I think this last couple of years have, 96, but I think it's still aged her between Harry and Meghan and the son. I think that she had enough, I think, I really do. But yeah, but nobody lost a sword, no horses acted up. I'm watching a lot of it and I'm thinking, well, it's not bothering them, it must be okay. So, but that stuff all could have gone bad.
Did you see the video where the guy was in the crowd, like yelling at the parade going through, and like he just disappeared because somebody reached and like just yanked him?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
see
it's kind of
that.
funny. He's there, then he's not,
No,
wow.
because
I didn't see
security
that.
or whatever just yanked him right out of the crowd.
But I purposely got up at 5:30 in the morning. I wanted to see the beginning of it. And so, yeah, I'm in my recliner when I'm watching it, but still. And as soon as they got to the church, all those bishops or whatever they were on the one side, they were standing up with their books. And I'm watching, the casket was right here and that line was there. And something flew out of the guy's book. It ended about 3 feet in front of him, a square of white paper. And I thought, I want to know what that So, when he dropped. I really, and I kept thinking, and he had been wiping his face with a hanky. I don't know if he had been crying or if he was blowing his nose. I don't know, but something flew out. And none of the commentators said anything about it. Well, just paying attention. It was on the news yesterday.
Oh, because something.
Oh.
And they showed it, there it was flying out, and I'm thinking, but they didn't tell me what it was. I still don't know.
It's a teaser.
I don't know what he lost.
Well, Rhonda says becoming king during retrograde could be problematic.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
So would you say nobody's really going to take him seriously because of its retrograde going forward, or?
I don't know. I think the queen was between a hard spot and because I think she really wanted her grandson to be king. I think she wanted to avoid Charles altogether, but
Yeah.
protocol, I just think that
She
would
just
put her in
couldn't
a
hold on
really
any
bad
longer.
light. But all the comments, now all these countries want their jewels back. She's a slave with all these people. It's like they waited till she died to do this, so I think he's gonna have his hands full. I
Oh, yeah.
really do.
Well, I think a lot of them felt the same way that she did, that they weren't crazy about him being king.
No.
I think had it bypassed him, they wouldn't even be asking for the
See,
jewels back.
I didn't think so either. I think they just blame him what happened to Diana, and nobody likes Camilla. Nobody likes her. I feel
So
sorry.
he was with Camilla before Diana, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was.
There you go.
Yeah, and then she got married, and then, so they each broke up each other's marriage is what happened.
Mhm.
So, but they're human too,
Right.
so who knows? I don't know.
So you said you think the queen just didn't stick around. Like, how often do you see that when people call you for funerals, that the person just doesn't stick around? It
They don't
doesn't sound like it sounds like it's kind of rare that people don't stick around listening to you.
Right, yeah, and I think a lot of people just, I'm done. And think about it this way, people live so much longer now, there's no point, they don't have a lot of friends left or their relatives are dead. And when you are dying, you see the white light and you start seeing your people that you want to see again. Why do you have to wait to see what your funeral looks like if they're going to do what you want? Now, if you don't do what somebody wants, that'll be a reason for them to stay. But she planned her whole funeral out. She knew exactly what was going to be there. Exactly.
The most
And
funerals you go because there's a reason, and that's why those people have stuck around. There's a question about something or some unsettled.
and sometimes it's just being a nosy son or daughter. Did he have money hidden anywhere that we didn't know about? Is there a will we don't know about? Is there accounts we don't know about? You know, I don't know how open parents are with their kids anymore. But back in the day, what happened between the husband and wife didn't have anything to do with the kids. Kids didn't know anything.
Exactly.
And I would hope, and I keep preaching that, tell your kids what you want, because I don't want to have to decide what your dead person wants. You should know what they want. And so, and people that have kids, where do you want your kids to go? I mean, my relative threatened her daughter that if her and her husband got on a plane together to go to Vegas and that plane went down because they didn't have a will, that all 5 of her dogs, they were taken to the pound. They weren't going to find homes for them.
Oh, jeez.
Her daughter almost canceled her trip because she was so afraid that that's what they would do. Instead of having a will made.
The wills are so easy.
You can get them off the computer now, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought so. I don't know. You don't have to even have to go to an attorney anymore to have one done. You can do it yourself. As long as it's in writing, you can go anywhere and get a piece of paper stamp that it's authentic.
Yeah.
So if you have a bank account somewhere, the bank will do it for you.
Right.
I don't know. People definitely were upset with the funerals because so many people, their bodies got put in cold storage during COVID,
Oh, yeah.
and a lot of funerals didn't happen.
Mhm.
So
So a lot of those people maybe are still around because they haven't had their last service.
that little stint that I did on Channel 3 a couple weeks ago, that's what they wanted to ask about. And there was a ghost in the studio that was mad. He was single, 60-something years old, never married, no kids, sort of a loner. And he never crossed over because he's still waiting for his family to do something, for some kind of memorial.
That was kind of a cliffhanger on that little thing that you did, because they're talking about COVID and they're talking about, well, we're gonna find out if there's actually somebody in the studio, and they never followed, you stayed there obviously to talk about what was going on in the studio.
Well,
But the viewers are like, I wonder if there was anybody in the studio.
I didn't watch it. They didn't say there was anybody there.
No,
They clipped it?
they cut it off, like, your interview was done. They were talking about whether or not there's somebody in the studio, and Mary Ann's gonna let us know if there's somebody in the studio. And, but your interview was done, and you never came, I don't think you ever came back on, I think it was done. And they went to a commercial, and
You know, it kills
didn't
me.
see
You
that
sit
part.
there on that couch and you tape for 10 minutes and they knock it down to 3 minutes and 42 seconds.
Right.
It's like, I don't know, if people didn't know what I did, they still wouldn't know what I do. So it's crazy when I do that. How about any questions about the book?
Well, not necessarily about the book, but Linda said she wore an blue aventurine bracelet on her right arm through a lovely tooth extraction 6 days ago. She hasn't taken it off yet, but she was wondering if there's any more to do to help with healing during a Mercury retrograde.
Well, I know there are stones that you can carry that are supposed to avoid having a Mercury retrograde affect you. One is blue aventurine, and what did she use?
Blue aventurine.
Oh, okay. And there's a tourmaline too. Those are the only two that I know that if you carry, and you have to carry it in your right side, because when things affect you, they come in the right and go out the left. So when you're trying to avoid something, you want to have stuff on your right side to block it. If you want something to come, then you put it on your left side. But if you're trying to block something, you keep it on your right side. But those are the only two stones that I know that work halfway decent. Do you know of any others, Melissa?
Usually a lot of the blue in general, because they tend to work in with the throat and communication. So lapis, sodalite, my mind just went blank, blue fluorite. The blue fluorite to work with,
okay.
yeah. It'll fracture pretty easy. Not be as pretty. It'll still be blue, just it'll be fractured.
Okay.
But a lot of the blue stones are going to work in with the throat, which is your communication, both listening and speaking.
And what I would do when you buy a stone specifically to use for Mercury retrograde, buy it and cleanse it before the Mercury retrograde, use it during the Mercury retrograde, and then cleanse it when it's over so it's ready for the next time. So and that's a stone you do not have to carry with you all the time. And like I said, it does protect you a little bit. But again, common sense. That's all that is common sense.
Mhm.
Oh, Brooke says she won't be with us for our normal Wednesday live. It's her daughter's birthday tomorrow.
It's her daughter's birthday?
Uh-huh.
Oh, cool. There is stuff did she get the stuff in the mail yet?
Brooke, if you're still on, did you get your stuff in the mail?
Today's Tuesday. She should have got it. You mailed that on Saturday to her, right, Ted?
I think so.
Yeah. Just don't open it, Brooke, until you're supposed to. She's got one of the, 2 of the letters I sent down to her.
Okay. The
The-
WTF letters.
The crazy letters,
Mhm.
yeah. And so and Brooke is the one that wanted to have a tea party.
Yeah.
So
So,
what are you putting in your tea for this party?
yeah, well, I don't know. What are we doing, Melissa? I don't know, but we're gonna have the tea party here.
I think it's wine and teacups.
Yeah, wine and teacups, there you go.
There you go.
While reading letters, trying to keep a straight face.
Yeah, so there's 8 letters that are gonna be read, but nobody's going to know what they are until they unseal them and read them.
Right.
Of course, I know what they are, but
But this is gonna be a podcast, right? It's
Well,
a
I think we were
podcast?
gonna stream it while it's happening, but then
Oh.
I'll turn it back off to private afterwards and make it a
and we're gonna
podcast.
do it on the 2nd of October.
Okay.
I'll be next door for a meet and greet from like 1 to 4, and then about an hour later, we'll set it up in here, and we will do the letter reading. Tara's coming in and she's gonna read 1 or 2, Melissa's got 2. I don't know who, Brooke from
Sandy.
Florida, who else?
Sandy.
Sandy, okay.
And this will be on YouTube?
I don't
Yeah.
know where you're putting it.
It'll be on YouTube because then
Yeah.
I can pull it down and
And if anybody ever listened to any of those letters when I did them on YouTube,
Mm-hmm. They're crazy.
they're absolutely, and they haven't gotten any better. And the bad thing is I have to answer these people.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they're right. It's like, what am I supposed to say?
yeah. So the good thing is if you watch it while it's live, you get everything,
Mhm.
and then later on, like as I edit it down,
Well, you have to. It's not that
yeah,
long.
and that's what goes on the podcast. So those who got to watch the Stanley Hotel thing while it was going on, you got everything. I edited out probably a good 15 or 17 minutes
Oh, goodness.
afterwards.
Well, you walked around holding that computer. We were on the phone for what, 45 minutes?
It was like almost 50, 48 or
It's
50.
an hour, and you can't have it that long, but
Yeah.
yeah, Melissa was at the Stanley in Colorado.
Right, I saw it afterwards. I'm never able to watch when you guys are,
You already saw the Stanley?
I saw the first half.
Yeah. So remember how it didn't go to private like it should
Oh,
have
that's right,
for
you did
the-
see, yeah. So
Yeah.
some people
So-
caught it, but not a lot of people got it because it was a bit.
We didn't really announce that we were doing it because we wanted it to be
Well,
more
I
podcast.
always scan everything and, you know,
Yeah.
what's out there. Ooh, this is something new.
Yeah.
So,
So, you were one of the lucky ones that got to see it before I yanked it down, and then
It's not up anymore.
nope.
You know,
So that's why I was telling
Now,
people, they're
a
like, I
week
shared
from
it to my friends.
tomorrow, it'll be on regular podcast.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow. But, because tomorrow is the second half of the theater. So, yeah, and that's what we were trying to figure out, what other places around that we could, because people seem to like that, where she can go through
Mhm.
but I don't know any other places around here that are supposed to be haunted.
Oh, there's plenty. It'll just be trying to find the times to go. Like, there's plenty of restaurants and stuff in the area. It's just
Right.
finding the time to go where it's not jam packed and
But how
there's-
could we, I mean, like, we could say it was the Stanley Hotel. We can't say we're sitting in yours truly. I mean, we can't mention
Yeah.
anything
I
like
mean,
that.
maybe
not
tomorrow.
unless the owners wanted it.
Yeah, like maybe tomorrow, like put the call out there. Like, if you are local and you know a place that wouldn't mind, like reach out. Because like the place in Oberlin that we did that dinner at, they had no problems, but now you seated it, right? And so they would have to take seats down.
They never put the seats
Oh,
up.
they didn't have you put the
want
seats up?
seats up.
Well, I can contact them and
No, they never did.
Yes,
They
did.
put it up at, what?
They did.
see. Okay. The
They
brickyard.
put them Up in the kitchen, there's select areas they put them up.
But
Not
not
all of them, though. There were
No.
still some, yeah, they didn't put them up everywhere. That's right. They didn't want anybody to come in the kitchen with the people that were cooking. So the kitchen is protected, but the rest of the place where the customers eat is not.
Okay.
So,
I
yeah.
can see that.
But
Yeah.
most of them did take seeds to put on their houses, though. They didn't care if they worked with them. They didn't want them in their house.
Well, I can
So-
always tell Nikki to take the seats down off my old house, and I'm like, I'm coming to sit in the living room. Let's see what comes. Well, and I can always go down that bike trail that's in Kipton too, where that train wreck happened.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's always got stuff going on.
And we're coming up to haunted house season. It would be interesting to see how many spirits are getting all that energy from the people screaming.
Right, and and I have cleared some of these places.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, it's amazing. And they meet me at the door and they're all decked out in their costumes.
That is so
You know,
So I don't know why people would want those cleared. That just seems like that would add to the.
well, some of them, the
Ambiance.
ghosts made the people, the actors, they caused some problems with the actors.
I got it.
Yeah.
Well, and some of that's expensive machinery for those props, and they're messing with them.
Yeah, the foggy things and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, they mess with all that. And some of these houses that are not open all year, they're only open like September, October,
Right.
November, but they're still there all year.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, and I can always reach out to like House of Wills too, and see if they'll let me just
See if anybody's still down in their basement. The House of Wills is a very unique funeral home. Their main clients are definitely they're East Side. They definitely do black funerals, and I've been to a number of funerals. People invited me to funerals there, and it's production. It's not like your normal funeral that you go to. It's a little bit more theatrical.
Gina says Bloodview is supposed to be haunted, and Karen said the Berea Fairgrounds, the 7 floors of hell.
Oh,
So I guess
okay.
Berea Fairgrounds was turned into a haunted.
Okay, all
Um,
right. But people that didn't have money to pay for the funeral yet, or they didn't have the money to buy a plot to bury the person, they have in their basement all these storage lockers, and they have all these people down there.
Oh my goodness.
Did they finally pull them out?
I don't know. That was a number of years ago. I
I
would
think they took
imagine
that
somebody
out.
got on them by now.
I think they did take the bodies out, but when I walked through there a few years ago, we actually got to go upstairs where the like living quarters was, and there's still furniture, old uniforms and everything hanging up there. But when you start looking through the furniture, you find the little bitty manila envelopes, people's earrings and things that came off bodies just still sit there. And I'm like, that's more creepy. And then the invisible people running around, like just to know that's still there. And the guy who lives there, and I'm like, how? Why?
Some people are just totally oblivious. They don't see or hear anything. They just live in their own.
And there's actually like secret passage through some of those lockers. Like you go through, you step
Oh,
in, and there's a
yeah,
whole other room.
And
There were
there
the
was
yellow
actually
cards.
3 steps, 3 different stairways to get to that basement.
Oh.
Everybody knew about 2,
Okay.
but there was a 3rd one too.
I'll have to reach out because one of my friends helps do the tours out there and see, because they've been doing a lot of work. Because when we went out there, I was the floor tester because I was one of the lightest people. There was no roof in parts of the building, so if it rained outside, it rained inside. So then the
we
wood
couldn't-
floor under the carpet was rotted, and so it would look fine, but you start walking and then it starts sinking. So I would have to kind of get out there with my foot, and be like, okay, don't walk past here,
Oh,
or you'll end up in the basement.
Yes,
But they've been doing a lot of work
Okay.
out there. They actually have electricity, I think, in parts of the building now, which before there wasn't.
See, that thing that we're doing at the winery on Thursday night,
Uh-huh.
that would have been a good one to do because he doesn't want any of the ghosts to go.
Well, he doesn't really believe in it either. He's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I might be
But would
changing
he
his.
let
might-
you record part of it?
He probably would. It would be more of getting consent of the people in the audience. So this would be more of something like after everybody cleared
Right.
out, doing it with just Marianne and I in the building.
I don't think he could do it with the owners.
Yeah.
I don't think that would even be, like the people out in Oberlin, that was their restaurant. They owned it, so they didn't care.
Right. Right.
but it's after I do something like this, like Halloween's coming up, I did for one of the channels, the B&B.
Right.
And she threatened me with an inch of my life when we were not on camera. You don't touch my ghost, you let him stay here.
Mhm.
Yeah, no.
You don't say, you just tell them
Where to go,
Yeah,
you could go,
exactly.
and that's exactly
You
what I
didn't
did.
do anything to get rid of them.
I think there's a
Exactly
bed and
right.
breakfast in Medina that's supposed to be haunted too.
What is?
A bed and breakfast in Medina.
That's where I did this, one in Medina.
So
Do they call you back and say, all right,
3 weeks
They seem
later,
to be
she
gone.
called me up.
really?
And she met us in full 1940s garb, the velvet dress and the hat. I mean, she played the part right down to it. And I felt so bad for these ghosts. There were 3 of them. Oh my God, I felt so bad. Like a 14-year-old girl and a lady and a man. And you're right. I didn't make the light. I didn't lie, but I did tell them how to go. If you want to go, this is all you have to do. And I didn't have any, but she called me. You got rid of my ghost. I said, no, I didn't. I did not.
But those ghosts stayed in that house or whatever it was.
But they
Right.
didn't know they could cross over on
But
their
they
own.
didn't go down the street or they didn't go
No,
play
they,
around with kids.
you know,
or-
did you know until you heard me tell you that you could cross over on your own? People don't know that.
by going to a funeral.
Home or,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
people don't know that. And people that died in the last century or in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you know, they didn't know that they could do that. Oh my God, my light's gone. I guess I'm here forever now. And so that's, yeah. So, and like I said, the little girl, the 14-year-old girl, she was a little, she says, I can't go to some place like that. She says, I've never been in anything like that. Well, she says, when my grandmother died, we put her in the parlor. And that's what they used to do back then. There
Right.
weren't funeral homes.
No, they have them in the parlor.
That's right. And houses that have 2 parlors, the second one was just used for funerals.
Mhm.
And if you were the expensive house on the street, you let your neighbors put their husband in there and everything else. And so, and I think that's what happened in your house before it became an official funeral home.
okay.
I'm almost betting that's what happened in your house.
Well, yeah, that whole room is just laid out.
Right,
that way.
right. So, but yeah, no, but she did, she called. Just like I think it is the first time I found it in America since we did that Stanley thing.
Uh-huh.
I think there's a bunch of ghosts in that place that act like the ghosts over in England in the castles. I think they do the same thing every night. They don't rattle chains and make boo noises and that kind of stuff. But I think the ones that are at the Stanley have that same mindset where this is their job. This is what they do. And I really think that's why some of them are there.
Well, that's what the stories with the tour guide was saying with certain ones and stuff. You know, like the one guy had a heart attack while shoveling snow outside the playhouse, and so he tends to hang around the
Okay,
playhouse and stuff. But
all right. Well,
there wasn't any snow, so we didn't get to watch him shovel it.
and you did not do the seance?
No, when they turned the light on and we could look through the window, it seemed very hokey. The overly done room with all the crushed red velvet everywhere, the big throne-looking chair, and I'm like, for as expensive as this room looks, and then you look at some of the stuff hanging on the wall, and I'm like, that's really cheap Walmart frames. So if it accidentally falls off the wall,
Who cares?
you know, and I'm like, how much of this is rigged? Because you do it
Yeah.
every night at 7, right? Without fail.
And I'm sure that table tips.
I'm like, I would have been more
Sure,
impressed
that
if I
table tip
looked
is-
at there and it was a card table and some folding chairs and nothing else.
Yeah.
And there was no way you could hide wires or
And that's the kind of
rigging
seance you
or
want to go to. Not
Yeah.
one that's hidden with tablecloths and who knows what else.
yeah. I mean, it was a pretty looking room, but when you start to like look at it from like, yeah, there's so many hidden little ways. Whatever.
The producer from Channel 3 called
Skeptical.
me the other night and she said to me, she just got married for the second time and her second marriage for both of them. And they're like close to 70, and she's getting ready to retire, and she told her new husband, and she just married him like a couple years ago. She said, when we retire, I want to do exciting stuff. I don't want to sit at home and bitch. So she calls me up all freaked out. She goes, you can't believe what we're doing. I says, okay, what are you doing? She says, we're going to Colorado and we're going to do a seance on Halloween.
Well, that's exciting.
I went, oh my God. I said, you're kidding me. She goes, do I have to have like 18 seeds taped all over my body? What do I have to do? I said, no, one will do it. You don't need any more than that. One will do it. So.
Well, maybe we'll have to do a walkout in Kipton because, Karen's like, I still can't believe your old house is a funeral house, and we'll show the outside of it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you could tell from the outside that was a funeral house. Yeah.
Now that it's like it was a private residence before, and I didn't care, but now that I have a tenant, we won't be going in there, but I can show you the outside. It's some of the other part of the town and some of the history of the trade wreck. And
right.
That's how we all have second hands on our watches now from that trade wreck. So there's some history with it.
Yeah, what the ghost missed the time on switching tracks because he didn't have a second hand on his watch.
Yeah, it was a mail carrying train and a passenger train. And I forget which one, but it was a little ahead of time or something. So it missed the switch and they collided like literally across the street from my house and fell into one of the buildings. But it was off just enough. So they hired, his last name was Ball, to come up with better timekeeping. And that phrase, get on the ball, comes from that train wreck too.
And so he came up with the second hand on a person's regular wristwatch.
Yeah, so that second hand was at first geared towards transportation and train railway. And
Okay.
I think if I remember, it was like 8 people who died from that collision.
Yeah, we'll have to do a walk there.
So it's an interesting little town.
Any more questions before we wrap this up?
Rhonda wanted to know if you didn't want to go to a funeral home for the light, how else can you get across?
You can also see a church that has a funeral car parked in front of it and know that there's a mass or a service going on for the person. Wherever the casket is going to be, the white light is still going to be there with them. So if you don't want to go to a funeral home, you can go to a church that has something going on. Or like nursing homes, there's so many women in nursing homes because we kill you guys. So there's a bunch of guys waiting for their wives in funeral homes. So they're just going to cross over with their wives when they die. So I guess if you wanted to wait for somebody, you could.
Couldn't the earthbounds go to a funeral home or to a nursing home and kind of like wait?
They could if that's what but you're just going to make the living people in the nursing home miserable.
Right, that's true.
So, maybe a dead husband doesn't care if he makes his wife miserable in the nursing home.
Wow.
But I still laugh because there's a few men that live that are in nursing homes and I've never seen a woman waiting for a husband. Never. I'm out of here. I'm done.
But if somebody goes right away, they take their light with them, right?
It disappears the minute they walk into it, it's gone.
So not all funeral homes are gonna have the white light available. Is that right?
Right, but very few of them, like you said, very few of them don't have a funeral.
Right.
So, and in all honesty, there's more than one parlor in a lot of these funeral homes. If there's nothing going on with that one, if you look down the hall, there's the name on the placard. There's probably one right in there. You can go to that one. Or when the director is taking care of your body while you're down there, wherever you are, your spirit is good, your light is going to be with you. So if you want to go bad enough, you can figure it out.
You can figure it out.
Yeah, you can. Like I said, people just don't realize that it's a universal light. They think, oh, that's her light or that's his light. No, it's the light.
Right.
Anybody can go with it.
So you're saying wrestling matches in front of white lights, like you got to beat me to get through my light.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And you may may not remember, but at our house, because I know once you leave, you don't remember all the details, but we had those two little boys, and there was a lady named Maggie there, and she had the light around her for whatever reason.
She came through the light. She was from the light, and when some people, when they visit, they bring light with them.
Okay,
A lot of people don't though when they cross over. They're there. They're watching you and they're seeing everything. But that lady had the white light with her. And I thought about that when I left. And I wondered if maybe that was to make the little boys feel more comfortable.
because they knew her.
She did. And I think that's why she showed up like that, because they recognized her.
Other people, I guess, does it depend if they're able or not able to come visit and bring the light with them to help other earthbounds cross, like this lady?
I don't
You don't
know.
come across that very
I
often, I
know,
guess.
never. No, very seldom. That's why, and when she said that, because I think she said how long she was dead for.
That, when you did our house the first time, you said it was the same lady that owned that house.
Oh, okay, so that's
And-
how she knew it. Okay.
Now, but she was earthbound.
And I got rid of her, so when she showed back
She
up for
came
these little
back.
guys, right.
Actually, she might not have been there when you were there, because the other ghost told you who she was.
Okay.
But she came back regardless, she crossed and came back.
Oh, yeah, and I think she brought the light, I think probably to make the little boys feel better, because they were just little guys. They were, yeah, and I think, but they were playing with her granddaughter.
We were playing with my granddaughter. She was
Okay.
chasing them. She'd take off, she's 2.5 at this time. She'd take off in the backyard. Come back. Hey, don't run. You can't run all the way back. They've got a fairly deep yard.
Yeah.
Without us, she's like, I was just chasing the boy. There's no
Yeah,
boy
oh,
there.
kids are good. Kids
Oh,
can
yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
Kids can see it so
You can
easily.
see.
Yeah, really, it's so
Yeah.
simple. So Melissa and I were talking, we're gonna go ahead and next month is, this is not an educational book. This is not something you need to learn anything from. This is just a plain old book that's supposed to be cute. They serve bagels in heaven.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, so this is gonna be a fun book to do. Nobody has to think about anything, just enjoy it.
That sounds fun.
But we've decided that we're going to do this one next month and probably do November, but if we can't get a bigger crowd coming in here, we're gonna knock this off. So,
Yeah, I can see why.
and I would have understood if we've been getting people, and then with winter coming, it's gonna drop off anyway. It has to, because people are afraid to come out if it's gonna snow or something. But we're not gonna keep up. And I blame the people in Strongsville. You know, the place was jammed when we were in Strongsville. You couldn't even move in
It's
Strongsville.
not far out here.
But they don't think like that. They think this is terrible
I
and it's so
agree,
far
this is-
away.
This is 20 minutes, I mean.
That's right. But I don't know how else to convince people that they can come. I mean, you're close, you're fine.
Right.
And what does it take you, about
20 minutes.
Yeah, it's not that far.
Not even 20.
I was gonna say, I've been known to drive a long ways. I used to go to the Far East Side for the Astrological Association.
Okay, so you're used to it.
Yeah, driving don't bother me.
And
Oh, highway.
I know a lot of people, which surprised me on a Thursday night, a lot of people that are coming to the winery on this Thursday night.
Are you coming? See?
Oh, are you?
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a surprise of what happened that night. Melissa doesn't even know about it. But there's a bunch of people coming from the east side,
Tell me
which
what the
really
surprise is.
surprised me. Because they don't want to come to this, but they'll, of course.
It's got
they'll
wine.
want the wine.
Maybe
It's
if
the
you charge
wine.
to participate.
No, if she had wine that we could buy.
Yeah, I suppose. No.
So what you're saying is I have to bribe Ted to tell me what the surprise is.
Oh, he won't tell you.
No?
Nah, He knows way better than that.
Ted.
You'll just have to be surprised on Thursday night like everybody else.
Okay.
I hope there's a ghost there that I can just scare the pants off of that Chris.
Yeah.
So
if
that
he's
he
there,
really
I know
believes
there's going to
this.
be like the 2 bartenders. I don't know if he's going to be
Well,
there.
he's the manager. He's not gonna leave the place empty with us in there.
Right. You
Well,
would
it
think.
depends on how
Right.
much he trusts the bartenders.
That's true. That's true.
Well, what's funny is the 2 that are going to be there volunteered, like they wanted to do this event. So I'm sure they're.
So I bet they even have some stories they can tell us.
Yeah.
Probably.
A bar, they're always full.
So I wonder if they'd be willing when we're done with the crowd to be like, hey, do you mind if we record this real quick? Like, do you want to tell us some of your stories? And Marianne, like, when you get real quick?
Yeah,
And
maybe
we'll
they
find
want to.
out.
Again, I think they would have to still run it by Chris though.
And if he says no,
Then
we'll
it's
be like,
no.
there's this winery in Avon. Weak.
Yeah.
If you
Well,
know the
there's-
store, then you
There's a
know where.
couple out
I was
there
gonna say,
that-
there's more than one.
So that doesn't mean it was them specifically.
That's right,
Because there is more than one out there.
right.
Yeah.
Are we, any more that we have to pick up on that before we sign off?
No, one last question. Low attendance, is it because Mercury retrograde?
What's rapid?
The low attendance, is it from Mercury retrograde?
No, it's
It's
because
been
nobody.
going slower the last couple of.
Yeah, it's been bad, yeah. I don't know, I was so sure that this would work after Strongsville, but.
I was in the beginning thinking like, I'm gonna have to plan where to put everybody and, you
I'm
know,
gonna be, I love
But-
the club, and
I know.
I don't get why it's not like Strongsville. It was crazy there.
Well, maybe it's because it's, again, a learning type thing that we've been doing. Maybe they're gonna come with a regular book. I don't know. I don't know.
but the book is available on the Goddess Elite website. They serve bagels in heaven. So
And it's brand new, it just came out. No, the one on November is brand new.
yeah,
This one has been out a little bit.
yeah.
Okay.
Because Karen said she really really loves this one, so she may have already read it.
Yeah, and Eleanor said, this is who turned me on to this, Eleanor. So she
Eleanor?
said it's
Okay.
great. She really liked it, so. So we're good.
Well, thank
Say
you
hi to
for
Chris
the
for
I
me.
will, for sure.
Okay. How's Jules doing?
She's good.
All right, guys. Thank you. We're gonna end the live.
Sweet.
Yeah, very sweet.
Yes, please share and like the video. Tell friends.
She's
If you're
such a
local, please
smart
come in. Bring friends who like to read, so we can keep it going.
And I can't get over the way just her sentence structure. I just can't get over it.
Yeah, no, she's pretty smart, but she's with 3 adults all the time.
Oh, and Chris and I talk to her constantly.
That's right, and that's why my girls were, where we lived in Worcester, they didn't even have preschool down there then. I mean, my kids are over 50. You know, they didn't have
They
that
didn't
kind
have
of stuff
preschool
then.
back then.
And with
For our online friends,
Tonight, and then
Lori
we
will
moved
be
in his
taking
mother
my
and
spot
father
tomorrow because I have a doctor's
with
appointment.
us. and
So we will be live tomorrow, but it will be Lori with Mary Ann. So part of me says take it easy on her, and the other side of me says give her hell. But we'll be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. It'll be Lori with Mary Ann. But thanks, guys, and catch you tomorrow morning.